Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to 7th Street, and welcome back to yet another episode of our Top 5 Horror Films 80s Edition. Is that a better title for this? Is that a better title? I just came up with that. I have no idea. No? Okay. Well, anyways, it's 1983, so let's do this. Number 5, Cujo.
Cujo? What are you growling at?
Stephen King owned the 80s, man. He had 25 film and TV projects that came out in that decade alone. People just couldn't get enough of the King. And truly, one of the scariest stories of his is one of the few that is based mostly in reality. Cujo doesn't feature anything paranormal, nothing that couldn't happen to any of us on any given day, and that's what makes it such a terrifying movie.
Oh my god, you rabbit.
Cujo stars the always incredible Dee Wallace as Donna Trenton, a frustrated suburban housewife whose marriage is in the toilet after learning her husband is having an affair. While her husband is away, Donna and her young son Tad take her beat-up old car to a local car garage where, unfortunately, the dog that lives on the property, Cujo, is infected with a nasty case of rabies and has killed his owner and anyone that visits the property. This movie really freaked me out as a kid. Still to this day, I'm nervous around big dogs that I'm not familiar with, and I put the blame squarely on this movie. A large chunk of Cujo takes place in a vehicle parked just outside of the car repair shop, with mother and son cowering in the broken down vehicle. This is brilliant and high anxiety, and really makes you put yourself in the situation, wondering what you would do. This is a grade A film and deserves a spot on any horror fan's list. Number 4, Scream Time. Nobody ever talks about this little 80s oddity, and I feel like it's pretty hard to get a physical copy of it. Truthfully, I only own it on an old Vestron video VHS tape, and I picked it up on a whim without knowing anything about it back in 2010 at a movie store called Movie Movers. Ever since the first time I watched it, I was super thankful that I took a chance on it.
Whew, pretty good, huh? Not that I get scared or nothing, because I know they're just actors.
This is one of 2 movies in this video that have been on my short list for doing a full reference this film episode on, so I don't really want to get into it too deep. I want to save some of my opinions and theories on the production for that episode of Reference This Film, and believe me, I've got some theories, as not much is really known about the making of Scream Time.
They're British movies. I can tell by the way they talk.
Scream Time is an anthology horror film with one of the best framing devices ever. It follows 2 30-something-year-old sleazy guys who jack 3 horror videotapes from a rental store that's somewhere in Times Square. The guys then take the tapes back to their sex worker friend's house, where they all watch the tapes together one by one, and that's where we get our short stories.
Look, I told you, I just want to see a few movies. There's no cops around. So go get ready for your date.
Well, look, 2 movies, okay? And then out. I might be bringing somebody back here later.
Somebody hit the light.
The first is about a puppeteer's puppets who take deadly revenge on some vandals. The second story is called Dream House, and it's my personal favorite in the anthology. It's about a family that moves into a new home, and instantly the wife begins to experience strange and disturbing ghostly interactions. And the third story is about a couple of guys who attempt to rob a house, but accidentally run into some killer fairies. Yeah, fairies.
Do I believe in fairies?
Scream Time is super fun. You know me, man, I love anthology flicks. Track this one down and give it a watch. Number 3, Scalps. Gotta love Fred Olen Ray. I mean, he's just one of those cats whose filmography is that of a true director. Like a professional director, not someone whose career took off and became an icon, not a guy who makes art with a capital A-R-T. He's just a guy that makes a ton of different types of films, and that's what he does for a living. That's his day-to-day at the office. Lately, seems that Fred has been just cranking out the Hallmark made-for-TV Christmas movies, which, good for him. Get that money, Fred.
He should be back by now.
Maybe he took the truck to get some help.
Oh, who are you trying to kid?
But going back to the beginning, we have one of my all-time favorite ultra cheapo drive-in gore fests, Scalps. This is the other movie on this list that I've been gearing up to do a reference this film episode on for a very long time, so once again, I'm not gonna get super into it here. The movie is about a group of archaeological students who go out to the desert for a dig on ancient Native American land, where they unfortunately release a vengeful spirit, which looks hilarious and terrifying at the same time, that possesses one of the students, whom then goes on a killing spree, murdering and scalping the other students. This movie goddamn rocks, man. Despite being a shoestring Z-grade horror flick, Scalps is heavy on creepy atmosphere and gore. The special effects and the makeup is cheap, but it's very effective in its own way. I've seen much better makeup that somehow works less than the makeup does here. It's hard to explain, but it no doubt has to do with the overall directing style of early Fred Olen Ray horror films. This one is highly, highly recommended. Number 2, Psycho 2.
What? Who is this? My mother is dead.
In all honesty, Psycho 2 should be number 1. It's certainly the best made movie on this list, and stars one of my favorite actors of all time, Anthony Perkins. The thing that's most wrong with Psycho 2 is its title, Psycho 2. Most people don't even bother watching the Psycho sequels, and why would they? A sequel to one of the most classic films that was directed by arguably one of the best directors of all times. 23 years after its original release? Clearly this is just a run-of-the-mill 80s slasher cash grab, right?
Time to go to the fruit cellar now, Mother.
I'm a huge fan of all the Psycho films. The first Psycho movie is one of my top 10 favorite movies ever, but I gotta say, all the sequels have something about them that almost works better than the original. The one constant in this series is obviously Anthony Perkins, and he's always spot on in the role of Norman Bates. You can tell that he truly loved this character and never played the role cynically and never played it like it was just a paycheck.
After I killed that kid in the cellar, I used it to clean up the mess, and then I flushed it down there.
Psycho 2 takes place 22 years after the events of the first film, and Norman Bates is released from the asylum after being judged as legally sane in a court of law. Upon his return to his home and the motel, Norman takes up a job at a local diner where he strikes up a friendship with a waitress named Mary. But as he tries to adjust back to normal life, the murders around the Bates Motel start up again, leaving the viewers wondering if Mrs. Bates has returned to her son Norman again, or if the bloodbath is someone else's handiwork.
Do you remember in our discussions about your mother? Once you accepted the fact that you murdered her, her memory would have no hold over you.
One thing I can tell you is that this movie keeps you guessing until the very end. It's a top-notch thriller any way you look at it. I cannot recommend this one enough to you guys.
See? No ghosts.
Number 1, Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, no, I'm afraid that they wouldn't approve of that at all. Even though they know that I am a doctor.
Yeah, boy, Sleepaway Camp. The film that's your pretty basic, above average 80s slasher movie until the last 3 minutes where it goes totally off the walls, criminally insane. The twist at the end of this movie's got balls, literally. The movie centers around little Angela Baker, a very quiet, very shy girl who's understandably mentally scarred by the tragic death of her father who died in a boating accident. Angela is then sent to her aunt's house to live with her cousin Ricky, who's about the same age. Some years later, Angela and Ricky attend a summer camp where some mysterious killings begin to happen. Pedophiles are boiled alive with pots of scalding water, girls are stabbed in the shower, bees' nests are thrown into porta potties.
Do it. Hey, get that thing out of here! Come on, get it out!
Yeah, no one will ever claim that this one is a phenomenal slasher flick. The real great thing about Sleepaway Camp comes from the summer camp environment. It's just so much fun and really does conjure up some really nice nostalgic feelings.
Come on, man. He can't.
Come on, take the bat off your shoulder. Fuck you!
Even more so than Friday the 13th, I think that Sleepaway Camp is the movie that started the archetypal camping slasher movie. Sure, Friday the 13th was first, but I tend to think that the subsequent camp-based slasher films that preceded it took more cues from this movie. Of course, we gotta briefly talk about that ballsy twist ending. You ready for it? Well, Angela has a dick.
God, she's a boy.
Yeah, Angela is actually Peter, her younger brother, that supposedly also died in the boating accident that took her father. And for no real reason, she has been forcibly transitioned into a female by her kooky-ass aunt. Yeah, this ending is amazing and mind-blowing, and I can't imagine what watching it for the first time in a packed theater must have been like. It's amazing how a good twist can elevate an otherwise slightly above average slasher film.
Yeah. She takes showers when no one can see. She has no hair down below. Judy, she's a real carpenter's dream. The light is a board and needs a screw. That's enough! Fuck off!
And that's it for 1983. Stay tuned for another episode. And that's it for 1983. 1984 will be coming up very soon, but I do want to let you guys know that next week I'm actually going to be on vacation, and then when I come back, I'm working on a couple of projects, actually. luckily stumbled into a couple of camera operator jobs and actually a directing gig. So it might be a little bit more than a week for the next episode of this, the next installment, but I promise that I crank these out as fast as I can. Usually we do about a video a week here, but I just want to let you guys know that there might be like a week or two where there's a bit of a lag, a bit of a downtime. But anyway, shout out to our patrons. Shout out to Harold Webb, who pledges the maximum every month. He's an awesome guy. Until next time.
Oh, that's beautiful. Go on, Psycho. Pick it up. Come on, pick it up. What's the matter? You lose your nerve, huh? Or do you only attack women, huh? Go on!